Ah well, I tried to pause it and I couldn't, so there we go. But not to worry, I'll carry on. This will be part 2, and curse it all to hell. When the phone rings, it's a bloody nuisance. I don't know how to stop the video and then restart it again, because it just seems to kill off the whole thing completely, which is a bit of a nuisance. But there we are. I didn't answer the phone, so I'm going to find out in a few minutes who it was that called me and left a message, and we'll see what we'll see as time goes by. But what I can do here is add a little bit of silvering in, and as I said, what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to put a coat of gloss varnish over the top of this, and then I'm going to weather it with other bits and pieces as well. Take that bit off there, we don't want bits of pencil mark there. So I've used a similar technique on the SR71, but not with a silver pencil, but with a grey one, and that's turned out, I think, quite nicely, and I'll show you that in another video. I won't show you that in this one, but we'll see how that looks another time on another video, when I've just about completed the SR71 now, so I'll be able to do a look over and shall we say review, end of project review build, shall we say, or project build review. And as I say, I think with the SR71, that grey lining has to be a lot more subtle. Once again, you can do that with a brush. You can make that happen with a brush perfectly happily. But I think with a you know, one of these what's it called? It's polychrome or something. Faber and Castell. There you go. One of these brushes. It's much easier to do, because it's almost like shading a drawing in some sense. You can really be you know, quite rough and ready with it, and there we go. So we got nuts and bolts here that we can just use the side of the pencil for. There we go, and we can. Oh no! What did I do there? As you can see, once we start to rub these things, they rub away quite easily, and what I'm trying to do here is guess where most of the people might have climbed onto this vehicle. Might have been at the front here, possibly, you know, over the wheels or round the wheels and so on. And therefore, you know, quite a lot of wear might have happened around these areas, and we can then decide whether it's any good later on, as it were. Here we go with this, and just another few minutes of this sort of thing, and we'll I think we'll be about there. But as I say, the idea really was just to show you an experimental thing that I tried with an aircraft and resolved to try with a tank, so that you could see what and make a decision for yourself as to whether this was a good idea or not. I might get clever with the video and try and knit these two separate sections together. That might work, but we'll soon see. I think the next time I come to do a video, I'll probably switch the phone into aircraft mode, and in that way then I won't get a problem with people phoning me up at odd times of the day, when unexpectedly, shall we say. But then that is the idea of a phone, isn't it? So that people can see what you're, can give you a call when they want to talk to you. So this at the moment I think looks quite heavy, but I don't know, it's I'm looking to try and give it a worn appearance to it, and I think we might have got that. So let's look at the at this one here. So I did a little bit with this as well. So what I did was went round the edges here, and again you can do two things. You can highlight the edges here with a lighter coloured paint, so just add a bit of white to your dark green, and then paint that through a slit that's about that wide, and the paint falls onto it, and it works quite well. It's quite an interesting effect. And then you could highlight these with the pencil trick like this. And then, or you can dry brush with oils, white and silver and green and so on and so forth, and you'll get a nice effect that way. And we'll see how we get along. So this, I imagine this would be quite worn along here, because folk like to walk around on the top of tanks, didn't they? So we might have quite an assortment of perhaps scratch marks as well. I mean, quite how I'm going to do that, I don't know. We could have used chipping fluid, couldn't we? And would have been a way of doing it. Or chicken fluid, as I did describe it once for comedic purposes. I can't get quite into there, so we'll just give that as you can see, you can brush some of this stuff off, and it looks all right still. Go into these little gaps here, try and even things up. There we go. Right. So what we then have we just try to achieve a little bit of a sheen. Now, the other thing about this is that subtlety means that it looks different in different areas, or it looks different depending upon how the light falls upon it. Sometimes it looks really quite pronounced, other times it looks much less so. And the idea for this for me was to achieve that sort of either pronounced or subtle look depending upon the light falling on it, rather than depending upon actually how much weathering I put down on it myself, that was the idea. Now, it may or may not work, we'll see. that fairly well to Right, let's get the edge of the mantlet here. This piece here is called the gun mantlet, and it was a heavily armoured part of the tank. I've glued that so that it doesn't move, by the way. This one was quite loose when I assembled it, which was not really what I wanted. There we go. As you go round, I notice this from time to time. You see areas where you think, oh no, I need to rub that off a little bit more, and it does send your finger a bit silver as well. But it allows the pencil to, the pencil markings to spread. I wonder if we can actually do something. I'm going to do a little experiment down here. I'll just draw a line and then see what happens when I just lick my finger a bit there and see what happens. Yeah, so as it goes, you can remove these things even if you scrawl a big line, but it takes a bit to do so. I just notice that's a little bit not subtle. As you can see how it changes with the light. That's really the sort of effect I was trying to look for there, and it's worked quite well. I think that's worked reasonably well. So there we are. That's another half an hour or so to add to our exercise here in terms of the project. And so we're up to, I think we're really up to about sort of 7.5 hours or so, if I'm going to be absolutely accurate with my timings, to get to this area where effectively the construction of the tank is more or less complete now. So it looks pretty good. I'm quite pleased with the results so far, and this is really a question of allowing me to develop my ability to make weathering and to use a little bit of imagination maybe, and see where we can whether we can make something that looks like a real tank but in miniature, because really that's what modelling's all about, isn't it? There we go. If you put the back in properly, then the front fits perfectly, and there we go. So that's the thing, nearly ready to be varnished. I shall varnish it in 3 parts and then glue it together later on. I think it's probably the best way of doing it. The tracks, I think, have some black rubber inserts on them, so I'll have to paint them in. That'll be a long and boring job, eh? So there we are. So that's really 2 videos today, which should perhaps just have been one. Thank you very much for coming along and visiting once again, and I do hope that you enjoyed that, or maybe you got something useful from it. If you did, then I'm very pleased to hear that. Put that brush away, do let me know what you thought in the comments, and thank you very much for visiting once again, and take care until the next time. Bye for now.